Welcome to Reef Diary, Day 9. Each day I talk about my reef tank and what I worked on. Today I worked on the calcium reactor. I'm about to work on the calcium reactor. So this is the CO2 tank. This is the regulator that has a solenoid built in to turn it on and off. These are my pressure gauges. There's one and there's another one back there. And then I have a button right here that says calcium reactor. So to work on it, first thing I do is turn that off. I'm also going to go ahead and unplug this so no more CO2 is going through the line. It wasn't actually pumping CO2 gas at the moment. Up here is my pH controller that talks to that solenoid to decide if I need CO2 in the calcium reactor or not. My calcium reactor is very old. I got it in 2004. Right now it's very brown. And there's some media at the very bottom. It's very low. It needs to be replenished. And it has a pH probe right there. This is where the CO2 gas goes in. And then there's a super long power cord that is woven through everything and goes all the way into the power center over there. And I've got to remove all that to get this guy out of here. From the refugium side, I could probably lift it up and out and get it out through this area and over into the kitchen to clean it up. I use a Versa dosing pump as a continuous feed for my calcium reactor, and I push through 60 milliliters per minute. The light over the refugium is an XHO that uses daylight to grow these plants. I have it on some fishing line with a couple of hooks that allows me to raise and lower it to the spot that gives me a little bit more space, but regardless, there's just not enough space down here anymore. I have things in my way, and it's going to be really hard to get this calcium reactor out through this area. But I felt like it'd be even harder to get it out through the other side past the Abyss pump. Perhaps at some point I can change something, but there's not a lot of choices. Once the algae turf scrubber got installed, it really kind of made that area a lot more snug than I'm used to. But still, it's not impossible to work in. It's just not quite as wide open as I'm used to. Success. Carefully, carefully. And I'm also trying to make sure any liquid in the reactor drains back into the sump before I carry it to the kitchen. So here's a quick up-close look at it. Here's the lid that has to be removed to clean inside. I'll probably rinse and possibly toss out most of that media that's left. This is the circulation pump down below, which is a Mag 5. This whole reaction chamber is filthy, as is the circulation tube right here. So I'm going to work on that now. All I needed to clean this reactor was a magic eraser. This stuff isn't like some kind of calcified coralline algae. It's rather just some kind of a sludge that occurs. And you know, there's been so much going on in my tank lately, I'm not surprised how disgusting this thing got. But it cleans up beautifully, and then I make sure to flush out all the sludge in the bottom of the reactor, and then I refill it. And I filled it up with Reborn media. This is the new version of Reborn. I know we all love the old kind, but we can't get it anymore, so this is what I use. That's okay. I still like it, and it still does the job. And here it is, semi-new and improved. I just cleaned it. I didn't kill myself trying to make it look brand new because it's not necessary. I just wanted to get the sludge out and refill it with new media and get it back into the system. So I'm going to go reconnect it all, just the opposite of how I took it all out. Fortunately, it goes back in much easier than it did coming out. And all I had to do was connect the tubing, run the power lines, and get it ready to turn on. While we wait for this to fill up, let me go ahead and tell you a few points of failure that can happen with a calcium reactor. There's not very many. The simplicity of the design is what makes it so popular with people with larger tanks. And back in the day, you bought a calcium reactor. Nowadays, everyone's dosing 2-part no matter what size the tank, which is kind of surprising to me. Anyway, calcium reactor, I've done videos about it. Mine maintains the alkalinity in my tank by pumping CO2 into this reactor. That pH probe down there measures the pH in here and lowers the pH to a certain melting point so this stuff dissolves in liquid alkalinity and liquid calcium. Now, points of failure could be the pH probe fails. It could be the acrylic container itself cracks and leaks. It could be the pump that circulates. The mag pump could fail after all this time. And I've actually replaced it 2 or 3 times over the years. But other than that, there's not really a lot that can go wrong there. If for some reason too much CO2 goes into the reactor and melts all the media to mush, all you did was waste CO2 and media. The reactor's still fine and the reef is still fine. So, one of the biggest jobs I have is to just make sure that it's filled up and has enough to keep up with the tank, and to make sure that there's flow coming out of this piece of tubing right here, which it's gonna be a while till anything comes out of this tube right now, because the reactor has still got a long way to fill all the way up here with water. The little screen at the top spins to let me know the circulation inside this reactor. It floats, and with the circulation of the water moving, it just kind of does this weird spinning thing. So that is it for today. I just have left to do is feed the fish and make sure the calcium reactor is running properly. I wanted to make a quick reminder to you, there will be no live stream tomorrow because I'm going to celebrate my grandson's 4th birthday and I'll be out of town. You better remember to subscribe to this channel or you're going to miss all the cool stuff.